Hi, well it's lunchtime on Saturday of first week, the end of the first week that the students are doing their lectures and tutorials, and it's another important day in the university calendar, in Oxford University's year, because today is what's called the matriculation ceremony, and I'm going to see, I'm sure, quite a few students wandering around town, some alone and some in groups, dressed like that, or partly like that. So I'm going to walk to the place where the ceremony will happen, what is happening, and on the way I'll try to catch shots of a few students in that particular dress. Well, I was standing then very close to the Martyrs' Memorial, which is ahead of me. I've just crossed the road, and I'm facing Beaumont Street with the Ashmolean there, St Giles there, and Tesco just beyond the abandoned Debenhams behind the tree on the left.
Taco? And it's not.
Now I'm on Broad Street.
I'm sorry. Not on that level, it's just something.
The rules specify that if you wear a headscarf for religious reasons, then it has to be black.
So they were doing full English.
And I can just see crowds of students outside the Sheldonian.
really think so.
So that street there's called Turl Street, and the first college on my right is College.
Good to see that they're celebrating already. Those ones must have been done. Done is not the correct technical term. Right, behind the metal railings, you should just be able to see people wearing the same sort of uniform, going from left to right, queuing in fact, and slowly moving forward.
I started to give you everything.
That's quite a bit.
Actually, part of everything.
Okay,
Has Beta been credible like publishing success story? We just go through that.
Ties can be white bow, black bow, full-length normal tie, black, or black ribbon or black lace as they also call it. Shoes, socks, jacket and trousers must be black or as near as you can practically get. Parents may come and see their students, see their offspring, matriculate, but there is no room for them in the Sheldonian, so they won't be able to sit and watch the ceremony in comfort. Students over by the King's Arms, I presume have matriculated and are celebrating. A very good place for it too. I'd do the same if beer weren't so expensive.
Yes, absolutely. This is our group.
There used to be sex differences in the types of what's called subfusc that women and men could wear, but I believe that these have been abolished. So if they want, men could wear a black skirt. Has to be black though. And why not? Because skirts are more comfortable than trousers.
Ah, okay.
You are not allowed to bring, well, I'm sure you're not allowed to bring beer or other alcoholic drinks into the Sheldonian, but you wouldn't be allowed to anyway, because you will be walking in a group with the rest of the people in your college who are being matriculated, and you will be supervised, generally by somebody called the Dean of Degrees. And that's part of the procedure. So, okay, I'm dropping sort of random hints about what's going on as I see examples that illustrate it. So what is going on? Legally speaking, the university is a distinct entity from the colleges. Colleges are autonomous, supposedly. And you cannot be a student, normally, of the university without also being a member of a college. So these students have joined a college, been accepted by a college, and come to reside in the college. And they are now being formally admitted to the university and put on the university register. Of course, in practice, somebody will have pressed a few buttons on a database and put all their names into some database tables several months ago, and they'll also have carried out the most important check of all, which is to make sure that every student can pay the university fees. They might also do a bit of checking on academic quality and so on. Sorry, I'm being a bit snarky here. Fees seem to be more important these days. But anyway, this really is an industrial scale operation. They've got almost all the new students of the university to matriculate, and they've got to feed them through this traditional ceremony in the Sheldonian Theatre in a day between roughly 9 o'clock and it's either 4 or 5, I'm not sure which. And there are 7,000 new students. So they've got to matriculate about 1,000 an hour. Another way of putting it is that there are, not sure how many, it's something like 40 colleges who can matriculate students. And if you assume, say, 7 hours for the ceremonies, that's 6 colleges an hour. So it's very, very busy. Up to about a century ago, the matriculation ceremony that goes on here was only part of a bigger event. Students had to sit an exam to accompany matriculation. And the main problem with it, at least for some students, was that it was in Latin. But that requirement has been removed. It was removed about a century ago. And what's left of the tradition now is that students have to meet in their college have their attendance checked so that the Dean of Degrees knows that everybody who should matriculate is there. And then they walk down to the Sheldonian, and 2 Latin sentences get spoken, and that's more or less it. The matriculation ceremony is over pretty quickly. So in more detail, what goes on, I remember mine, but to make sure that I'm up to date, I found a blog post by somebody who had matriculated, I think it was last year, somebody with the Blavatsnik School of Governance. And this is their account of what happened. Start by dressing up in odd gear, which is the subfusc that I've just been pointing out. And as I say, it follows some pretty strict regulations. Actually, I should say, start by buying the odd gear. You'll be able to get a suit, jacket and trousers and socks and shoes anywhere of the requisite colour. You also have to wear an academic gown, which you'll probably have to come to Oxford to buy, or buy once you're in Oxford. I've shown you Shepherd of Woodward, which is one of the shops that sells them. And when I did the Oxford Brookes poetry video, I showed you another shop that used to sell them, Castells. There's 2 others, Walters and Eden Ravenscroft, both in or very near the High Street, who sell them. So you've got to get your academic dress, the gown. You've got to get a mortarboard or soft cap, which is the hat, and you have to get some sort of tie. And I notice most of the women are wearing the traditional black lace. I don't know where you get those. Maybe you could make them out of length of ribbon, but I'm sure the dress shops in the city sell them. And if you want a white or black tie rather than a full-length normal tie, you probably need to come to the dress shops here for that as well. So the very first thing to do is to make sure you have all the gear, all the clobber. And then the second thing to do is to probably something like meet for coffee early in the morning, so the college can do its first check and make sure that everybody is there who should be. And the blog writer that I was talking about had to meet for coffee at 9:30. And you get checked off by the Dean of Degrees, who is the college official in charge of getting matriculation candidates to the Sheldonian, and also in charge of running the degree ceremonies and getting graduates and such like to the Sheldonian. Then there'll be a group photo. The blog writer had a group photo at 11. And it makes a lot of sense to have the photo before the ceremony rather than afterwards. It's convenient for the students, given that several pubs are close to the Sheldonian, but it also means they look less dishevelled in the photo. And then the blog writer walked to the Sheldonian and waited for 2 other colleges to go in, and then with everybody else from their college processed into the Sheldonian in groups of 4. Sat for 5 to 10 minutes while an organ was playing, and could look at the painted shields on the wall, all of which read Dominus Illumatio Mea, the Lord is my illumination. And then stand as 2 formally dressed officials enter. One has got a large metal mace or sceptre and sits in a chair at the front of an aisle in the Sheldonian. And the other The Sheldonian has banks of seats. I think it's 3 tiers. There is a big chair called the throne, halfway up one of the banks of seats. And the second official climbs up to the throne and sits there. And then the Brogwriter's head of college addressed him, the guy on the throne, and said, "Insignissime vice cancellatriae, praesentamus tibi os nostros scholares ut referentur in matriculam universitatis," which means roughly, we present to you, O Vice-Chancellor, our scholars, our students, to be registered on the university matricula, the matricula being the roll or register. And the man on the throne then replies to the head of college, also in Latin, as follows: "Scitote vos in matriculam universitatis, hodie relatus esse, et observandum omnia statuta istius universitatis, quantum ad vos spectent teneri," which means roughly, know you that you are today registered on the matricula of the university and are bound to observe all the statutes of this university which apply to you. So the head of college has come up to the man on the throne, formally presented the students as due to be matriculated, and the man on the throne has replied, telling them that they are now matriculated, now registered on the university roll, and are duty bound to observe all the university statutes that apply to them. And that's it. It's a very short ceremony, and that's probably a good thing given the number of students who need to be dealt with. So the blogger from the Blavatnik whose timetable I'm describing, would have seen that, and then was given a 15-minute talk in English on the significance of matriculation. And they don't say what they did after that, but given the times, they'd probably have come out at early lunchtime, so I wouldn't mind betting that they went to a pub somewhere. And as I said, the King's Arms must be loving this. Think of all the money. On the subject of parties, I was saying earlier that parents are not allowed in the Sheldonian. There's no room for them. And a few students will probably invite their parents. But it's an opportunity for meeting new friends and so on and so on. And with the best will in the world, you might not want them there. One student wrote about this on Reddit, a social media group, and said, well, after matriculation, I went back to college and I drank half a bottle of rum. And then I fell asleep in the common room for 3 hours, so I'm very glad my parents didn't turn up. That is roughly all there is to say about matriculation. It's another one of these ceremonies that just is kept going. Well, I'm now in Holywell Street, which is a little quieter, so I'll say a little bit about the history. Once upon a time, there was a university but no colleges, and students lived in private lodgings, and they were supervised by individual teaching masters. Magister, I think, was the Latin word. The universities wanted each student to be registered with a particular master, so the students were formally as well as informally associated with him. I think it would always have been a him in those days, but they tried and failed. In 1420, a royal ordinance, a royal law was passed that students must reside in a college or hall and swear an oath to obey the university statutes, and that was largely ignored. There was another attempt at make it stick in 1552.
6, get the train at 7, then walk.
And then in 1565, the university itself started requiring students to observe the university statutes. They had to register with it within 7 days of being admitted to study, and they had to give their address and various other pieces of information. And the university started keeping records of matriculation. The first ever matriculation register was started in 1565, and over the years and centuries the register was gradually made more comprehensive. More and more information was required. Some of it rather odd by our standards. For example, the so-called quality of a student, which, as far as I can gather, seems to be something to do with their place in society and the place in the nobility if they were in it. The university introduced matriculation forms in 1870, so every student had to fill out a formal piece of paper and give their information on that. And then in 1924 and 25, the university decided that now it had the forms, there wasn't much point in having the matriculation register as well.
Sorry, I should have told you about that.
So it made them forms themselves, the repository of data. And then in the 1980s, the university started computerizing its records. And parallel to that, as I say, apparently matriculation used to involve an exam in Latin, but that was abolished about a century ago. So that's the history of matriculation.
It was the callback to Raleigh.
And I'm going to finish by just walking down Holywell Street and wandering through the grounds of the Turf Tavern, the pub, because I bet there are lots of matriculands, will be the word, people who have matriculated, celebrating in that.
songs and everything. Yeah, he's just like, you know, I think if you
Like a white old man.
yeah, but actually like down it, so like, yes, it was sad. Like,
So I'm still on Holywell Street and I'm about to turn right
my dad actually like totally
into Bath Place, and the turf is down here. So I'm now going down Bath Place, past its little hotel, and into the turf. Yeah, full of people in subfusc. Absolutely crammed. In fact, I'm not even going to try to make my way through that crowd. I'm just going to note that it's there and go out the same way I came in. Wow.
We used to get it loads of shit. Like yeah. It's much better.
I have 400, you know that?
Okay, and that is Oxford University Matriculation, October 2024. See you next time.